Hello, and welcome to my van tour. So I didn't think I'd be saying this soon, but I've decided to sell my van. A cool opportunity came up for me where I now have the opportunity to move onto a sailboat off the coast of Econoline, which is right by Tofino. And I will be helping a friend build his little off-grid setup on an island. He's got 6 acres on an island with a tiny home. The first step while I'm there is going to be getting running water going. There is a well on the island, a communal well between the 6 residents, but he is like, well, 6 acres away from the well. So we've got a lot of trees to cut and have to run a road, a water line, that kind of thing. He's got a bunch of chickens there, so farm fresh eggs kind of thing, vegetable garden, greenhouse, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be relying on the grid or system very minimally. But yeah, anyways, so appealing opportunity, I've chosen to do it, and now I am selling the van. So this is going to be a little tour of the van just for the purpose of selling it, but also because I haven't done that yet, and I've put a lot of work into building this thing, a lot of hours, a lot of money, all that kind of stuff. So I really want to document it, and I plan to get a van in the future. Hey, maybe I'll buy this one back, but yeah, and I would like to kind of just document the first build. Okay, so it's a 2005 E450. I owned it for just over a year, probably closer to a year and a half. I bought it at 39,000 kilometers, which is super low because it was an ex-Department of National Defense vehicle, only used on the base. I was the first one to register to the road. It now has 55,000 kilometers on it, just over. All government maintained engine and everything, which I was pretty excited about. So it's in pretty good shape. And so the shawl on the seat is there for a reason, of course. Like most of them, the whole side is kind of ripped off of the seat. The foam's kind of coming out. But I just kind of stuck a little cushion on and put a nice little shawl instead. I was intending to fix that eventually, but this worked fine for me, so I left it. It has the 6.8 liter gas engine, which is, I don't really know what I was going to say there. I guess which is right there, as you can see. So not much to see here really. Typical E450 engine. I didn't polish it up or anything, but nothing's broken or rusty. So yeah. I think it looks pretty cool myself, but I'm definitely biased given that I built it and it's my truck. Figured seeing as I'm driving a huge billboard across Canada, I might as well promote my social media a little. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Had a little casualty along the trip, but this whole back door is a little rough. To be honest, it's kind of all flaking off, and which means it's probably gonna rot before too long. But that's okay, because to be honest, this whole garage door setup doesn't work great. It takes up a lot of headroom inside. It's really blatant when you're opening it. It's not very covert. So my intention was just to kind of let it rot, and then once it's at the point where it needs to be replaced, put either barn doors or something else. You'll see, you got to consider the fact that there's no space here. Well, you'll see this in a second, but the ramp comes down, bike has to get out, whatever. So yeah, I was going to replace that with different doors, but for now it looks pretty cool. Alrighty, so welcome to the van. Here we've got a little table for cooking outside or doing whatever you want to do outside. Just unhooks here and then comes out. I got some storage here, shoes and stuff. I usually put a bungee around here to keep this tight from falling and jiggling around. Storage totes. A ladder here, which goes up there, leans up against that for when you're set up permanently and want to climb on the roof. But there's a little step here so you can climb up if you're just doing a quick hop up and take a picture kind of thing. This was intended to go on the roof for when you have the chimney going, just to keep the height down a little, keep the rain out, good draft, all that kind of thing. The bike, you could take this out if you're not a bike person. You could take this out and you got room for a shower, storage, sauna, whatever you want, I guess. I got a little mat here just because it's easier to clean up. Storage down there, I can't remember if I said that, up there. And then 2 crates here that just kind of hook in there. They were originally designed for the bike bags, but this ended up being a way more useful solution than putting the bike bags in and out. Then we've got your kitchen / desk area, full-size countertop, like full height countertop. I think it's 48 inches, 50, maybe something like that, whatever's in a house. And I left the gap big enough so that you can put a chair in there and kind of work there at a computer or whatever. Tons of storage in all of these. Even some storage down here. They don't really have very good clips on them, so I just put that around it. And I stuffed some stuff up there too. As well as up here, you got a little hammock, tarp, whatever. Yeah, everything's got lots of storage like you might have seen in the pictures. Over here, we just have a little socket, 12-volt socket, and then switch over here to turn both of them on with a voltmeter and socket. Or sorry, voltmeter and USB, and then the socket there. These guys are kind of junky. They looked pretty and they sounded cool, but they don't work too well, to be entirely honest with you. It was a spice rack. I guess it could work for spices, but I put salt in one and it's kind of jammed shut now. Said stainless steel, but it wasn't. Nice little light there, all on their own switches. Then over here, I've got the camp stove up there. The relays for the exterior lights are up there. Relays and fuse box, as well as the wireless receiver. And then over here, you've got your wardrobe. The wardrobe type thing down there was for outdoor clothes. And this is your indoor clothes. And this latch thing was going to be temporary, but it kind of worked well. So I kind of just left it. And here you have all your, well, this kind of stuff, I guess. Plus your Uncle Ben's rice for emergencies. I got my full toolkit in there, but you guys can put whatever you want, I guess. A full suit that I never wore on this trip. I don't know why I brought so much stuff, but hey, had to put it somewhere. And lock it in place. And over here we've got my clothes storage, the clothes that I actually wear. You know, that was a lie. I only wear like 5% of these clothes even. But yeah, so that's at the foot of your bed. Oh, and speaking of the bed, 3 inches of memory foam. So it's nice and comfy. I used a nice cold weather sleeping bag because it was winter, but you can use what you want, I suppose. Maybe even some sheets if it's summer. And then you got a nice little reading light up here, and it's handy because you can leave that on at night and then just reach up and flick it off before you go to bed. And then down below the bed on this side, we have a bit more storage up there. That same setup as most of the straps, just kind of a bungee with the fridge underneath and the electrical stuff. So just get that out of there and then I'll show you that. Okay, so I pulled a bit of stuff out here just to show you around, and my phone died while that was happening, but conveniently, we have a lovely little USB here and a long cable, so I can charge and video at the same time. Yeah, so we have the fridge right here. I'll show you that first. There's only one clip because somebody tried to unlock the fridge and grab a snack while they were driving. Bad idea. It's just a little 12-volt Coolatron. And then underneath that, we have the electrical panel, which needs a screwdriver to open. For safety purposes, of course. You don't want kids getting into your electronics, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just kind of fuses and relays. Yeah, that's about it. Wires. I'll leave that open for now. And then over here we have the batteries. So right now there's 440 amp hours of battery, and it's 4 6-volt golf cart batteries that are 6-volt, 220 amp hour each. So you do 6-volt plus 6-volt is 12-volt in series, but when you put them in series, it's still only 220 amp hours. And then there's 2 parallel banks of that, which add up to 440 amp hours. And that is connected to, right now it's currently connected to this, but this is temporary because this shit the bed on me. When I turn it on, it just short circuits, so it's just kind of sitting there, and I have a brand new setup that I will show you after this that has been waiting to be installed. And oh right, the other part of the temporary setup is, this is just to hold that storage thing in, is the fridge is currently disconnected because it was winter. So that I didn't reconnect because I was planning on redoing all this. You'll see the connections because of the new stuff I bought. But yeah, temporarily right now we're hooked up to the PWM charge controller, which is currently putting out 3.3 amps into the batteries. And it is a pretty sunny day, but it's like 6 o'clock, oops. And the sun is very low, as you can see by my shadow. But yeah, so that is not a very efficient unit, which I will explain later. Actually, I'll explain right now. And here's why that setup was temporary, because I have a brand new 1,000-watt inverter and charger. So you can plug into shore power and charge those batteries with shore power at 40 amps, or you have the other way around too, the 12-volt to 1,000 watt, which turns out I didn't need the full 3,000 that I had in there before. I never ever used even close to it. So I just went with a 1,000 watt sine wave charger instead of that other one, which was modified sine or whatever. So this is good for anything type laptops, all that jazz. And so that's the upgrade for the inverter slash charger now. And here's the upgrade for the solar charge controller. That other one was temporary because it's a PWM, which you're basically, it just cuts it off and on, and it wastes a bunch of the power you get from your solar panels. But also, so this one is a 50 amp charger, smart charger, so MPPT charger. So that's the MPPT is the better version of PWM basically, because it's a smart charger and it gives it a lot more power when the batteries can handle it, and then it lets off the power as they're getting too full. So it's basically just better on your batteries and more efficient with the power from the sun. In addition, this one specifically, I did a lot of research on because it is able to take in, you might even be able to see it here. Anyways, it can take in the solar input and also the input from the alternator. I don't know how fast people read, so just pause the video if you'd like to read why this is important. And it can take both of those at the same time and still charge those batteries at the most efficient rate possible. So your batteries will last longer. You'll get way more out of both the alternator and the solar charge controller way more efficiently. And both of those combined up to 50 amps. And so those are both brand new in the box from a place called Donroe in the States, which is where I had to go to get that specific charger because I wanted that one specifically. And then I paid also a little more for this guy to have the opportunity to charge at shore power. Okay, got it back together where we left off. Oops, I forgot to turn the lights back on. Yeah, it makes a little difference, even though it's daytime. Yeah, continuing on, I guess we will show you the cab. Which got a little, don't need two hands for it, but little hook on there so things don't go sliding around while you're driving. And I guess not too much exciting here. It's a cab. That's the little switch I was talking about, that when you flick that, it either disconnects or connects the relay back to the batteries, so that connects basically the motor to those batteries and vice versa. But what it also does is when you flick it, it turns on this panel, which, well, I might as well do it. Actually, no, it's not the time. The neighbors might not like that. Has a bunch of sirens that have been disconnected, of course, for legal purposes. But the reason I did leave it connected was mainly there's an air horn, which is a lot louder and it's fun. Takedown, which is a little LED light on the light bar. And it's those hazard lights are controlled by this. Right now I have the switch off, so it's not doing anything, but yeah, so that I'll show you that at night actually, or maybe I'll segment to that right now. So unfortunately the lights are way too bright to be picked up and focused on the camera. I'm a couple hundred meters away and this is how bright they are. You can literally see these things from around the corner because they'll reflect off everything. But yeah, super bright. And then it's also got that little top flasher on the back and those two back, well, you can see what it has there. So I'll get you another little clip of this at night or in daytime, just so you can actually see what the light on the front's doing. So I got pretty lost in some swanky neighborhood and realized I still haven't gotten this clip, and now is the perfect time. So that's what you were seeing at night. Okay, what I explained in the original video didn't make any sense, so I'm doing a little voiceover. What you just saw was the little red switch, which is the hazard lights. It has 3 different modes for different blinking patterns. And then I will cut to a scene now that will show you the other features of this light. Okay, so I can't really show you these ones from afar because there's cars going by and I can't leave them on because they'll blind people. But you got your right alley and your left alley, which look like this. Ooh, the 2 sides of that little guy. And then the front one, which is the one I use the most because it's a happy medium between lighting stuff up and not draining a ton of power, but also not blinding anyone. Oh shit, which I'm doing right now. Sorry guys. Not the big 360 lights, which it does have. And those are controlled by this, which is wireless. So you click this one and the big one turns on, the front one, the back one, and then left and right. So I guess I'll show you that now. We've got that. Front one's really bright, so I'm gonna turn that off because we're not really out in the woods here. The rear one, and then the right side. Yeah, super handy with this little guy too. Feels like you're on a spaceship from up top too. It's kind of cool to play with. Okay, and the last thing to note up here, I guess maybe there's 2 little things, phone charger, and then the last thing to note up here would be you're missing something. And I mostly did that because it's a lot easier to get in and out. It's already a bit of a climb to get through this little cubby space here. So with that chair there, it was brutal, and you'll see where that chair went. Hint, hint. But yeah, so this I just kind of put a cover over it because that's the stuff that controls. There's the relay that controls the battery to the back. And then that's the unit that is attached to this and handles all that jazz. But then I built this little box mainly because, well, this just comes off for easy cleaning. And then you can also remove this. So those are the existing bolts that bolt the front seat in. And the intention of that was so that if I meet somebody cool on the road or a hitchhiker that's just really, really worth it, I guess, I can open that up, unbolt those, take that box out, put it somewhere, and then unbolt the chair that I have here and put it back up front. And the way I mounted that was just kind of put the same threaded rod here, so it's the same bolts and everything, and then screwed that plate down into the ground with 4 screws on each one. So you unbolt those 2, and that's it. Once you unbolt those 2, it lifts up, and then on the back there's just 2 hooks. So it slides into the hooks and then pushes down and it's bolted in. So that's how it's held in. So you undo 2 there to put it back up, and then the 4 to get that box off. So yeah, with this, there's a bit of storage in and around here, so it's not wasted space. That was intended to be a bookshelf, but you have to have the right amount of books or your books go flying, I learned. But yeah, this was kind of my reading chair, and it often gets filled up with stuff, but it is lovely for reading there. And you can still kind of slide it forward and backwards because it's a car chair, and then recline it front and back. If I decide to put this back up front, it opens up tons of storage here for, I don't know, other stuff to play with, I guess. A toilet might be a good first start, but that wasn't an issue for me personally. I found it pretty easy to find bathrooms on the road. So now moving on our tour to the other side, we come across one of my favorite aspects, the wood stove, which I built myself out of 2 old used propane tanks. You can probably recognize them now. And it is designed quite well because I designed it myself, of course. Yeah, there's a little baffle that goes up here, and the tank goes all the way to here, and then there's a hole there, and then there's another baffle here. So basically the fire/hot air comes up here, goes around here, back through here, and then around here and up. And the purpose of that was, number 1, so that it radiates as much heat as possible into the living space rather than just blowing the really hot air straight out. but also so that by the time the hot air reaches this top flat surface, it should be a nice evenly distributed heat, rather than one really hot spot that burns and then the rest kind of medium hot. But yeah, so it's nice and even across the whole thing. And it does open up nice and wide, but I did plan ahead and do this, so you can take this off. I don't know if there's a use for that, for cleaning or whatever. Yeah, so it is a kind of a small stove, of course. It's not too wide across, but I was able to fit the kindling at the gas stations in, or twigs that you find and break up yourself, that kind of stuff. If you're cutting your own wood, then it's not an issue. But yeah, so close that up here. And you see the little latch, you might recognize that from the gate. And you got a breather. Yeah, quite proud of that build. Oh, and there's metal underneath, so you're not worried about burning anything really. There's metal with an air gap. Cement board, I think they call this stuff, with an air gap again between it. All separated by copper pipe spacers. And then some air holes here so that it can all flow out. And again, all just making sure you're not going to burn the place down. And then I guess while we're up here, I'll show you this, which is a DIY on the cheap vent fan, because when I looked up the max air fans, they were stupid prices. It's just totally unnecessary. So that's 4 computer fans. I think they're 1 amp each, or maybe they were half amp. I can't remember, but I did some research and they're nice and strong fans. They're not the little cheap ones. Oh, and then I guess you can close that up. So yeah, leave that open for now. Okay, now moving over here, I put my water tank here just because it fit really nicely. And then some pouches here, just kind of loose storage. Got most of it cleared out at this point for the video. Oh yeah, dry stuff right by the fire. That's kind of handy. And over here I had a computer bag. And I set it up so that you could unscrew it. I kept my laptop in it, and then when I went to, let's say, a coffee shop, I'd unscrew that and just take the whole bag. And then the bike, which if you have a bike, it's a nice setup. Maybe you're into motocross, just dirt biking like I was. You can put your bike here with some storage up top. I think I might have said that at the beginning of the video, but... Yep, you did say that already. But if I re-edit it right now and try to combine those 2 clips, then I have to change all those times at the bottom, which will take a lot of time, so my bad. This was originally to hold the side bags that were off the bike, and I could take those off the bike, put them up there, but turns out the bags and the bike actually fit, so I never really took them off. Not an issue now because they were stolen, but that's another story. But yeah, so these milk crates work perfect, and this is kind of my building supplies storage. That's what I used it for. Oh, and I didn't really mention this little guy. That's kind of a permanent fixture, the same setup as this one, except you can't unscrew it. It's just screwed right in. So that was kind of my electronics storage. Electronics and notebook, that type of stuff. Oh, and some storage back here. This is what I referred to as the garage storage. Stuff that I would normally put in my garage. A jack, saw, 2 saws because I overpacked as usual, 2 first aid kits because, well, I do get hurt often, but kind of overpacking still. Drill bits, screws, emergency traction plates, straps, all that kind of stuff. Tow rope. And then there's another one back there that I can't really reach for now, but same type of stuff, a little bit taller so that I could fit some of the bottles that I couldn't fit in there when I first built it. And then down here you can see, for the setup, all I have is the front wheel chock. I think these are called Easy Tracks, something like that, but they just kind of pop out like that. So you got some flexibility on what you want to do there. And this second one is because planning ahead for meeting somebody and wanting to take them out for a ride, but them saying, oh, I don't have a trailer, I can't come. Well, no more excuses. Load your bike up and come with me. And yeah, I also put this kind of rubberized stuff underneath because I drove this a bit in winter, and when you come in snowy and then get your fire going to dry it all out, lots of water comes off. So this kind of keeps it, it's not completely sealed in or anything, but it keeps it contained enough that you can put some towels down underneath it too, and it'll absorb it all without making a mess all over your floor. And now, last but certainly not least, I think we have enough charge to unplug and go show you the most charming part of the whole build, or at least my favorite part of the whole build. gonna have to put the phone down because I need 2 hands to climb up there, or I guess I could get the ladder out, but I'm not gonna bother. You guys can probably imagine what the ladder looks like right up the back there. So yeah, I'll meet you up there. Welcome to my deck. It's sitting on a custom-built aluminum roof rack. It's bolted to 6 mounting points, which were permanently fastened to the roof before the rack was installed. So if there was some reason you had to take the rack off, you can do that. It's kind of hard to see them, but they're under there. They're also what holds the off-road lights, the 360 lights. So you got 2 little pods on each side, the big light bar on the front, and then the little guy that you can't see right underneath here, as well as the solar panels. So you have 200-watt panels. They're built on their own frame that's separate from the roof rack. So if you unscrew these little wing nuts, I'm not going to do it because it's a bit tedious, but if you unscrew these wing nuts, there's 2, one up there, one up there. You can tilt it either that way or that way, depending on which way the sun is going. But so far I've had enough power that I haven't even had to do that. Between the alternator going and the solar panels putting a bit of light in during the day, or a bit of power in during the day, I just haven't had to tilt it. So yeah, and then there's once you undo both of those, there's a little arm here that you can swing up, and you can adjust what angle you want it at, all the way from, it won't go 90 degrees, but it'll go pretty friggin' close. Yeah. So the other thing over here is, that's the top of the vent. So that vent that I opened up when I showed you that, you can open that during the rain, nothing's gonna get in. And then this is the chimney. So you just kind of unscrew that wing nut and then pop it off. And to be entirely honest with you, I very rarely put the chimney on, because when you do put the chimney on, if it's winter or if it's rainy out, or if your wood is really, really wet, it's susceptible to condensation coming down this extension tube and dripping down the outside, and then dripping down and staining the side of the vehicle. I guess it doesn't stain because it does slowly go away, but it's a big gross yellow stain. So most of the time I really just open this up and light it like that. It still drafts really well without the chimney. And aside from that, I'm sure you could use your imagination what other type of recreational activities can be done up here. Get a little chair, lawn chair. You could put a tent up here, camp up here if you wanted, watch the stars, whatever. Even some storage. I was thinking of putting the snow shovel and dirt bike tires and stuff like that I don't use, or that's kind of seasonal up here. But yeah, lots of options. And so that pretty much concludes my van tour. There's a few other things I guess I should tell you. Is that's a chin-up bar to stay fit when you're living in a van. It's kind of difficult, especially if you're on the move and you can't get a gym membership in one place if you're not staying still. Everywhere around the van I put hook points so that you can tie your hammock to it and then tie your hammock to a tree or whatever else you'd want to do with that. They're kind of all around the van here. All points around there. Yeah, that pretty much concludes it. I can't think of anything else. If you're interested in seeing how I met the German guy that owns the 6 acres on the island with the off-grid setup and the tiny home and all that, follow my channel, because the next video will start off with me meeting him right before I go on an adventure on the DR, on the motorcycle, to the top of a mountain near Tofino, overlooking the Broken Island Group, which is right near Tofino in the Pacific Northwest, if you know about the Broken Island Group, but it's gorgeous. And the video after that will be my first journey to the island with the man. His name is Marcus actually, and his wife Verena. So there's 2 very good videos coming, the 2 best videos. The rest have been kind of junk in comparison, in my opinion. But yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, give me a follow. If you're interested in the van, send me a message, preferably not on YouTube, because I'm still new to this and I don't even know how to check messages, to be entirely honest with you. So send me a message on wherever you saw this, either Instagram or the Facebook ad, on Facebook, whatever. Just, I'm sure you can find a way to get in touch with me. Yeah, so thank you for watching. I hope this was an intriguing video or a useful sales addition to the ad. Either way, I enjoyed making it, and I am glad now that I have a full video of my whole van before it leaves me. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and Have a good day.